Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday morning, and you are watching the Astrology and Consciousness Support live stream. My name is Robert Cosmar, and I'm your host. And good morning, Crystal Blue Persuasion and Dallas. Okay, we're back. There seems to be a little bit of network issue going on here on my system, which doesn't terribly surprise me. So bear with me here until I figure out what's going on. But thank you for being here this morning. And it looks like we're going to be starting off a little bit slow this morning in terms of how many folks that we have that have come to the broadcast. I'm showing on my system that we have two that are watching. I'm assuming that it's both Dallas, you, and Crystal Blue Persuasion. Are you saying the same number on your system? Um, Sometimes the information that I get on my software is not always up to date. And are you able to hear me? Okay, and as well see me. If you can, I would like to have that kind of feedback. And it always helps me to get an idea here where to begin. And I always like to start the broadcast off by asking if you have any pertinent questions. Okay, thank you, Dallas. If you have any pertinent questions that you want to address or something that you want to put out there before we get into other things, I have an astrological component here at some point that I want to talk about. And there's also some things regarding the process of working with, great, thank you, of working with our guidance and our higher self. So if you have anything that you would like me to address, okay, great. That's what I'm showing right now. And of course, the way this thing usually works is you start off with a certain amount and then it begins to increase. Beck, welcome to the broadcast. Good to see you here this morning. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few minutes before I um, like I said earlier here, unfortunately, what I'm getting is an indication on the screen here, my connection that is dropping and then coming back. So if you have a freezing on your end, there's something going on the network that unfortunately there's nothing I can do about it. It happens to be the way that it is at the moment. But I would like here for the moment anyhow to open up and kind of give you an idea what the potential is of this software here. Because I can blow the screen up to a much larger size if it's something you're able to look at on your computer better. And in some situations, I can also put in, overlay the chat, and then I can also do this. All right. And it makes things much better in terms of your eyesight, if your eyesight's as poor as mine. Okay. Okay. Okay, Dallas, thank you. You're right on target. All right. I think what I'll do then, because you brought this question out there, is I'll go ahead and start with the astrological element to the talk this morning, the conversation that I prepared. And I'm going to go ahead and bring another screen over for you. And then we will put that onto, okay, a wider window here. Okay, now in this particular window here, I cannot see the chat portion because it's kind of been blocked out by the expanse that I've done. And I don't know that I can actually find a proper setting for that at this point to do that, but I'll play around here. I'm still learning how to do this. Okay, Crystal book persuasion. Are we facing a fall of Rome time, like nothing available, no industries, no nothing, every man for himself? Okay, I think I can give you some clarity on this. And this is kind of timely in a sense because of the fact that you're bringing this, okay, you're bringing this to me. All right, I guess I made a decision here to go ahead and go with this one. Let me go ahead and see if I can expand the window here again for you. Okay, great. Now I can see what you're asking me. All right. What you're looking at here is essentially an image from the video that I'm going to be doing on my next video broadcast. Okay. And the thing that I want to try to do is to answer the question that was just brought up about the fall of Rome. Okay. What you're looking at is the ingress of Neptune into Aries. And this is going to happen on March the 30th, okay, of 2025. And there is another image too that I at some point will bring up, which shows when Neptune and Saturn have both entered into the fourth house of the chart of the United States of America. Okay. Now, to understand what is happening in that other chart is that any combination of Neptune and Saturn brings about a sense of disillusionment, despair, anxiety, in a way, hopelessness, the feeling of hopelessness. What the universe is going to attempt to do throughout at least the rest of this year into the summer is to increase a sense of everything is out of our control. This individual is slowly eroding what we have known to be reality. Okay, now that sounds horrible. All right, that probably gives you a very sick feeling in the pit of your stomach. All right, now, but there is another side to this coin that you have to keep in mind. Okay, and I have at different times during my videos over the last probably 6 months or more have tried to emphasize the fact that this entire scenario is being given permission by the universe because the universe is trying to facilitate a massive consciousness shift. All right, and until we let go of the grip of the old belief systems, we will not be able to throw ourselves back upon ourselves in a sense to further awaken consciously the higher aspect of our beingness or our higher identity. So you should expect, and I would encourage you, and I mentioned this before in some of the videos that I've done, try to stay away as much as you can from network news. Okay, try to stay away, okay, from all the negativity and all the fear and all the turmoil and all the what ifs that's going on, even on MSNBC. Okay, and focus on your own conscious inner spiritual growth. You want to be receptive and open. Okay, Captain Ahab, welcome to the broadcast. Good to see you here. Okay. You want to be receptive to your own personal inner guidance to give you both comfort and direction as we move into the year 2025, into the spring and into the summer. If you only watch what is on TV and what you see on the internet that's constantly popping up, Trump did this, Trump did that, and you look at that and you go, oh my God, what next, And again, what I want to emphasize here, based upon what I mentioned earlier about the transiting Saturn and Neptune into the USA chart, this is an aspect of bewilderment. It's an aspect of hopelessness feeling, okay? It's an aspect that crumbles Neptune, crumbling Saturn. So if you are privy to only the negativity, This sense is going to build and build and build, and the anxiety and the fear and all this stuff is going to bring you to a point where it could harm your health, your mental health, and possibly even your physical health. And again, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that this is being done because the universe is bringing us to a point, a breaking point in a way, to where we let go of holding on too tightly to the past, and we are open to the possibility of the future, okay? Of an awakening, of a conscious expanse within inside of ourselves that brings about your true higher identity and a sense of empowerment, okay? This is what is happening. This is why it is happening, okay? So there is no need to fear, all right? But in honesty, it'll be difficult not to feel that because of the fact that you will, again, you'll see this assault going on in terms of what Trump's trying to do in all these particular situations in the government and all of the intimidation he's trying to bring out state governors and things of this nature. Okay. Understand that Trump is not the universe. Trump is, in a sense, serving the dark purposes of the universe for personal evolution. But he has his limits. He is human, even though he has been given permission to do the things he is doing and will be given permission to do other things. Okay? All right. All right, Michael, welcome to the broadcast. Okay? I always appreciate your comments over there in the community. Just to kind of recap, Michael, what I have been talking with here to the folks that are with me here this morning is that the period of this spring and the period going into the summer is going to be a situation where this feeling that we have right now of being out of control, of being at the mercy, okay, of an individual that strikes both fear, chaos, and confusion, that there's going to be a build-up that is attempting to cause us to see that the resolution, future, and our personal problems has to deal with our inner relationship with ourself. Okay. Most of us to have gone through crises in your life, those moments when situations happened that were out of your control, and you felt like maybe your life was crumbling, maybe you felt like you were in a panic, maybe you had an emotional breakdown. If you're a human being, those all, okay, are possibilities. So what we're seeing happening here astrologically and also psychologically and emotionally is a sense of being out of control. And we can do two things when we feel that out of control. We can fight back. We can get angry. We can fuel the fear. We can fuel the rage. Okay. We can get sucked in to groups and individuals that have decided along the way that the only way to deal with this fear is to lash out in violence. And that's very likely to happen. Okay. Or we can own the personal responsibility for the vulnerability and the hopelessness that we are feeling. And we can seek inner guidance, inner clarity. Okay. How to endure, to face, and to overcome. All right. This is a decision that we're being thrust into. This has kind of been the plan all along. Okay. And again, part of the problem that most people will run into with this, and what I'm saying is that when you think about Donald Trump, okay, there's a very visceral, emotional feeling of hate of what we see happening. And almost a total blocking of the fact that what we see happening is happening because the universe wants it to happen. That there is a, quote, divine purpose for why it is happening. Okay. So we have a choice. All right. We can judge what we see happening. We can condemn what we see happening. Okay. But like those moments in your life where you had a crisis and you went through it and you got through to the other side and you understood why it happened, all right? This is the same process that we're going to see unfolding here, all right? But it will be uncomfortable. It will stress your ego to its max, okay? And if you don't think you have one still, you'll find out. Okay. All right, Dallas, I believe MAGA are going to invoke violence. They will finally know they have been in a fog all along. You know, it's possible. It's possible that we could see some form of violence, not just nationally, but internationally, because of the pressure, okay, because of what we see happening with Trump and Russia and the Ukraine and dealing with these other countries, okay? And again, the reason for this happening, okay, it's like squeezing juice out of an orange. You have to put pressure on it. And the way that the universe at times has to work with us is that it has to squeeze the juice out of us by putting pressure on us so that we turn within to ourselves and we awaken. We get redirected in the proper direction and we realize, oh, I've never been alone all these years. There's always been something there, a guide, my higher self. Okay. So again, from a practical standpoint, the reason for what you see happening and what you feel is because on a very broad scale, on a very high level, the universe is trying to evolve humanity. Okay? Some will fall by the wayside. Some will fall into violence. Okay? You don't want to be an individual, an aware individual, who decides along the way to give up on your personal path, your personal relationship with your higher self. And you know, because there's days when you feel this way. You know, those days when you feel like that God and the universe has forsaken you. Oh, what the hell? Why do I bother? All right. We all have those days. I have those days. Okay. That's the temptation. You know, that's that little devil on your one shoulder and the angel on the other ones, you know, saying, why don't you just give up on this crap? You know, and then you wake up the next morning and you go, oh, I understand why. I understand why I've gone through this. Okay. So again, the main thing all along for everybody who is aware and awake is, again, how committed are you to your inner path? How committed are you, okay, to being shown by your guidance, your higher self, your purpose in this lifetime? Okay. Are you diligently, sincerely looking within, or are you just kind of waiting until whatever happens? And, you know, some days you just kind of ignore meditation, intra meditative insight, you know, and then another day something may happen and you feel a little bit more hopeful. But this is the time of real seriousness. I think that you all would agree that we are all facing a sense of there is something big happening, something serious. And what can we do about it? Well, you have to make the decision that your inner life is really more important now than your outer life, because your outer life is starting to fall apart, okay, in a way. Let's see here, Vic. There are more and more angry constituents at town halls confronting the representatives. They want their representatives to rein in this administration's actions. Will that alter anything? I think to some degree it can. What it might alter, though, is that it might become more violent. Okay. Of course, that generates more fear, more instability. All right. And again, this is the test. This is the pull that you're feeling. Okay. Do I hold on to my inner spiritual life and trust and hope and believe that my guidance and my higher self will lead me through this? Or do I just give in emotionally, mentally to the negativity? All right. Are you more interested in your inner life and your relationship to your higher self? Or are you more interested in watching Fox and MSNBC, where you essentially are getting dumped on, okay, with a lot of fearful anxiety that's designed to create revenue, okay? Those big corporations, MSNBC, Fox, they can only exist in part by the money that is paid to them by corporations that they buy and sell them ads, okay? Millions of dollars, all right? Without that, they couldn't exist because we don't pay a dime to watch Fox or MSNBC, okay? The people that are in business, and as you know, a lot of the businesses have begun to bend the knee, okay, to the Trump's administration. So what is their intent? What is their purpose? What are they really doing and why are they doing it? All right. It's money, 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 money. So they'll put almost anything out there, particularly out there, okay, to get people to watch. And the anxiety, and you have this continuous buildup of hopelessness, okay? And yeah, at some point, Beck, there has to be a breaking point, all right? But hopefully we won't see anything to the extreme that most of us would probably hope we don't see happen. At least not on a scale of civil war. All right. And again, I go back to what I said earlier here in the broadcast about this, is that Donald Trump is a tool of the universe, regardless of what you think about him. Okay. And he can only go as far as the universe will allow him. And his real purpose is to try to get us to understand what is important in life. Right. Now it's money for the wealthy. That's a big part of what is going on and what we see happening and why we see it happening. Okay. Now, what you're looking at here on the screen, I don't know whether you can see the red arrow that I've got here, but you might be able to see the little hand print, which is my mouse. I'm wiggling it here. This is the ingress of Neptune going into the sign of Aries on March the 30th, 2025. Okay. Like the video that I did showing the ingress of Pluto into Aquarius. Okay. Yeah, he is a tool, Cece. Okay. What this is the birth chart of Neptune going into Aries. Now, there is no more incompatible combination of energies than Neptune in Aries. Okay. And oddly enough, you'll notice here that while the sun and the moon are very close to the ascendant, which would, in Aries, which would give a sense of drive, okay, a sense of urgent drive, okay, in regards particularly here to the moon, because it's so close to the ascendant here. Strong emotions, strong feeling, okay, wanting to move forward, wanting to break free from, so to speak, the feeling of repression that's going on. You'll notice that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 combinations of energies are all in the 12th house. This is the house that Neptune rules. Neptune on the low scale represents confusion, delusion, apathy, okay, chaotic disruption. All right. On the high end of that, it represents in very many ways spiritual awakening and consciousness, enlightenment. Okay. But the main effect of a house situation here, particularly the 12th house, where all these energies are in the 12th house, it gives Neptune a strong influence of we don't know what to do. Okay, again, this goes back to what I was saying in the early part of the broadcast, is that what we're looking at, okay, through the spring and into the summer is an increased feeling of what are we going to do? What am I going to do? There are no simple outward answers. Nobody seems to be in control but Trump. And he does this again. He does this again. He does this again. Okay. And of course, this is going to bring tremendous anxiety and pressure. It's going to take the fear level to a different degree. Okay. Yeah. For those that are on the fringes of madness, as somebody mentioned a little bit ago, I think it was Beck that you had mentioned this. This could be an increase in violence. Okay. More coordinated violence. Whether it be town hall meetings, somebody's got to do something. Somebody get in control now. Okay. We're already seeing, the situation where the cost of things is going up. Okay. The Democratic Party does not know what to do. Okay. There's a few every once in a while that will poke their head out and say, this is not right. We need to do something, but there aren't strong enough leaders that are willing to confront the fear, possibly of losing their life if they came out now and they assaulted Trump. Okay? That's a possibility. Okay? Doesn't mean that it'll happen that way. Doesn't mean that it'll go to that extreme. And again, my feeling is that because of the situation psychologically that it puts us in, this feeling of being absolutely helpless, okay, the dissolving, so to speak, of the American ego that has always said that wealth, fame, money, that's the way to happiness, which is kind of obviously falling apart in front of us, all right? That ego structure, that belief structure is what's being assaulted by the universe. It's trying to get us to go into another direction of respecting our lives, respecting the universe, respecting the earth. Okay. And in one sense of saying it, the universe is tired of watching us destroy ourselves. Okay. So again, the feeling, the hopeless feeling, the despair, the anxiety, you can expect these things to be a challenge against your own spiritual self and growth. Okay. Beck, I never feel hopeless. Your explanations are right. My acceptance of all that's happening. I can understand this versus asking why and looking at my surroundings. Very good. Very good. Like all of you, believe it or not, I go through days where I feel negative. I have dark, that I have to contend with. The difference for me when I have the dark days is I begin to ask myself in my guidance, what is it? What is it that I'm afraid to see? What is it that I'm afraid to know about myself? What is it that I don't want to know? Okay? Because I'm confident enough in my relationship with my higher self. Okay? I know I'm connected to my higher self. You are too. All of you are. But there's a difference between hearing that in words and knowing that on a conscious level, to where you can trust and you can ask and you will get an answer, okay, when the time is right. So it isn't like I'm special in some way, okay, that I don't have those dark feelings and those dark issues, and that I don't cringe when I look at the news, because to do the astrology, I have to look at it and then look at the chart and go, oh my God, I got to talk about this, and then to kind of balance it with the other side of the coin. There's always two sides of the coin. Okay. For those of you that may be, worried or fearful that, oh my God, Trump's going to take us back to World War II, we'll all be in concentration camps and stuff like that. I won't say that it couldn't happen, but I would say that it's probably not likely for a lot of reasons. Okay. When it comes to Musk and it comes to Trump, they are essentially looking at it from the standpoint of how can it benefit them financially. Okay. At this point, although they have implied and talked about it, I don't see anybody who's wanting to stick their head out far enough, even in Trump's camp, to insinuate the actual killing of people who won't follow their directives and their laws. I know they have at times given indications that they would be open to the possibility, but it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to follow through and to actually do it. Okay? And again, the purpose of everything that you see happening, okay, that you will see happening, is to cause you to look inwardly, okay, at your inner life and what that relationship is like, okay, because that's what makes all the difference in the long run. That's what can take away the obsessive fear, anxiety, and doubt that you see, particularly broadcast, okay, on network news. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? I'm going to bop out of this screen for a moment, and I'm going to bring up another chart here. And let's see whether or not I can do this. And we'll overlay it. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into the big screen again. Okay, we're back here. All right. This is the chart of July the 4th, 1774, the USA chart in here. And this is June the 22nd. I mentioned this a little bit when I started talking here. And I talked about this off and on throughout the process of many of the videos that I've done. This is when Saturn and Neptune go into the fourth house. This is why I'm so confident, along with the other chart that I just showed you, that we are moving into a period where despair, okay, Neptune symbolizes dissolution or the dissolving of Saturn structures, okay? And if you'll think about this for a moment, okay, your whole life is either based upon an inner conscious knowing of who you truly are, why you're here, or it is based on the lifetime of beliefs that you have absorbed and followed into. Okay? Think about that for a second, because that's a very, very powerful statement in the sense that either you are inwardly focused on discovering who you are, why you are here, what your purpose is, or you are following what others have taught you and told you. All right. And on top of that, I can say this: the experience, the revelation to you of your higher self will show you that the world that you see physically, that you have been taught to believe in, okay, is not the world that your higher self functions in. All right. This is one of the big, big revelations that you'll experience and you'll go through. And Quick Shady, welcome. Good to see you here. Okay. If you have experienced, if you have been introduced by your guidance to your higher self, then you already have begun to realize within yourself consciously that life as we know it, because of fear, because of programming, has been reduced into a sense of being a slave. And that what the universe is trying to do is to free us consciously up so that we don't have to live in fear, believe in fear. All right. Now, to your logical mind, that seems impossible. Okay. Much like the idea of a higher self can seem impossible. But there are many people who are awakening. And those of you that are in my broadcasts here, you're awakened souls. Okay. And you're probably on a fence day in and day out between feeling relatively confident because of maybe something that happened in your guidance maybe came through. And then, like I said, being drawn to TV, past programming and stuff, and being afraid, being fearful of what could happen. All right. Understand this. The only thing that really matters is what's happening in the now. Everything else, okay, is your imagination. All right. Everything you see on network news, if it hasn't verified to be happening, it's imagination. Okay. But the way that it's worked and the way that most people approach it is that we think it's real. It will happen. Not everything in our life that we fear, that we imagine, ever happens. Okay. Truth doesn't work that way. If truth, if your higher self and your guidance reveal something to you, more than likely it's going to happen. May not happen when you think it's going to happen, but generally my experience has been that it will happen. Okay. A little story here to bring this point home. And I won't say this happens necessarily right away or overnight. There's many things that I'll hear when I'm meditating, and I don't readily admit them to myself right away because the clarity of what's going on is not real. It's not strong enough for me to go, oh, okay, that type of thing. But my partner CJ can attest to you that I knew my brother was going to pass away about a year ago. And I had a series of visions about him uh, for several weeks. And then, of course, nothing happened right away. And I was thankful for that. Nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, here on November the 15th, my sister texted me and said that Greg had passed away. Fortunately, he passed away basically in his sleep. But the point being is that when you are not limited by your fears and your imagination, you are able to consciously interact with higher states of reality. They become your strength. They become the focus of your living. They become the teacher, okay, that instructs you in regards to what it is you are to learn about what's going on. Okay. And CJ, welcome to the broadcast. Okay. Love of my life, CJ, just popped in. Said true. She's verifying that. Okay. We are now 42 minutes into the hour. We've got about, 18 minutes to go here. And I'm hoping that we can discuss, some more. If you have any questions about, the stuff that I've shown you, by all means. If you have other questions regarding your own spiritual journey, this is the combination of both spiritual conscious support and astrology. And my hope is that some of you may open up and talk, okay, about your experiences and what you're feeling, okay, because this is how it benefits everybody, okay. My hope, my dream when it comes to State of Awakening, welcome to the broadcast, okay. My hope is that you will feel comfortable enough with me with the broadcast that you can share your truth, your feelings, okay, and that we can, discuss that. Others can also put in their input. This is the hope, all right, to make this as meaningful in many different ways to everybody, okay. On a side note here, if there was one thing that I could share with you that I have learned and that constantly is being told to me when I'm meditating, it's to be patient. Okay, it's to be patient. And in the beginning, I didn't really understand or appreciate that. But as time moved on and I began to have other realizations about the nature of reality and the nature of the imagination, the nature of fear, all right, I began to understand on another level that the reasons why my higher self and my guidance were telling me to be patient, it's that everything has been pre-programmed, okay? You are where you are because you're perfectly there, all right? So many times people bring pain upon themselves because they judge their life. They judge the things they're going through. They judge others. And all of that is a horrible waste of your energy. It takes away from consciously being able to heal. Okay. So my guidance, because it knew, being a male and how males think and how they feel and stuff, that I needed to learn to be patient. I needed to learn that everything happens when it's supposed to happen, and that I'm perfectly where I'm supposed to be at any given time, even though my mind may disagree. All right. And that's always the biggest problem, is that, you know, uh, you can decide one day to unload the care and the anxiety and the worry and judgment in your life that you brought into yourself, which makes you miserable. Okay. And depending upon the level of your connection with your higher self, that can last for days or it can last for 5 minutes. Okay. And when something happens and you feel anxious or afraid or angry or annoyed, okay. And again, these things can be shared, but until you experience them, okay, there's no way to prove it to you. Okay, that's kind of in a way the frustrating aspect of teaching anything about your higher self, is that you have to have the experience to actually know what's being talked about. Otherwise, it seems like a feel-good moment. Okay, Beck, I get physical ailments before life-changing events, painful muscle knots, rashes, etc. Once the event takes place, my ailments disappear. Okay, very interesting. You know, I've often found that one of the greatest tools for getting an idea of what's going to happen in the future is to think about it for a second and then feel the knot in your stomach. Okay, if you want a real quick tool, and probably most of you ladies already know this anyhow, all right, is if you're concerned about something, think about it for a second and then check your body. And generally, if it's going to be an issue, okay, if it's going to become an issue, a painful issue, you'll feel that anxiety or you'll feel that emotional knot in your stomach start to tighten. Okay. And there are other systems that can be used, you know, but in the particular situation there with Beck, that's how it impacts them. Okay. I kind of just feel anxious in a sense. Okay, Dallas, as we grow older, we start to realize the lies embedded into our formative years. Our beliefs change when we see what it really is, if we really think about it. Yeah, and it really kind of shows, Dallas, too, the tremendous impact that our created ego has on us. You know, I made a comment the other day in a post that somebody, pain that we go through is really in proportion, is the persona, the masks, the identity that we have absorbed over our life from the beliefs and the influence of others. Okay. And the reason why it's so painful, well, the reason why crises are so painful is that if we're unaware, we're totally hanging by our teeth, wondering what's happening. Why is it happening? Okay. That pain is the ego losing its grip. Okay. What you see happening and what I showed you here astrologically, okay, is going to be the national surrendering in a way of the ego, the American ego. All right. America is going to be humbled. And in many ways, we may be humbled. Okay. And the closer we have that relationship with our inner self and our higher self and our guidance, the less the impact, okay, of the anxiety and the fear. All right. Because we've already begun the process of surrendering control. All right. Very important point. And like I said, I know that many of you understand that because you've been through crises, you've been through heartache, you know, you may be going through some right now. Okay. And there's nothing worse than that feeling of drowning in fear and anxiety and not being able to hold on to anything. Okay. Having to let go. All right. And wondering what next and how bad is it going to get. Okay. In those moments, in the deepest moments, in the deepest, darkest moments of my life, painful, horribly painful moments in my life, those were the moments that I awakened. Those are the moments when the deepest, most powerful and potent part of me began to communicate with me. And that's been the case of many people. It's very similar. I remember reading about Eckhart Tolle's situation. He talked about going through his dark night of the soul and of the tremendous anxiety and fear and pain that he went through. And there's so many others. Many of you have gone through the same thing. You went through a crisis. You felt hopeless. You felt helpless. You felt miserable. Okay. Uh, you maybe even gave up hope. You may even have gone to the point of trying to commit suicide because you hated to feel the pain. All right, Anne, welcome to the broadcast. Good morning. All right. You're right. You're right, Michael. Okay. It's the trickster. It's the coating on the M&M. Okay. The hard coating of the M&M that hides all the good stuff. All right. And realize this, what the universe is hoping to do. The universe, through all of the stuff that I've talked about here, the feeling of vulnerability, the feeling of hopelessness, the dissolving of the ego, all right, is for one purpose. It is so that we can identify and recognize and own our personal power again, so that we can discover our truthful inner self and function from that inner self. Okay. Okay, Bill, welcome to the broadcast. Could you talk about what the south node transmitting natal Neptune is affecting this time, or north node opposite Neptune with the uprising that are going on around the USA? Okay, my understanding, Bill, of the nodes is that it has to do with relationships. It also has something to do with your life purpose, all right? When you're talking about the south node, okay, and Neptune, it kind of falls into what I'm talking to here about this feeling of despair, okay? Relationships, all right? South node's often identified with past life, whereas north node is present, future life associations, okay? So you're talking about this feeling, this disruptive feeling of anxiety and despair and of being out on a limb and not knowing. Okay. And it would be in this situation too, Bill, on a national, if not a global scale. Okay. We are experiencing a mega Neptunian type of effect upon all of us. Okay. All right. No, that's understandable, Bill. That happens. Trust me. All right. And so I hope that answers your question, Bill. Neptune, again, is the feeling of being out of control. It's the situation of Trump doing what he's doing, taking away our false sense. He's dissolving the system so that we can discover our true power. And of course, your logic and your reasoning do not understand that. And you will not understand that until you further awaken consciously. And then you'll understand why you connect with certain people, what the reason for it is. Okay. All right. State of Awakening. Super glad to have you back and actively sharing wisdom on YouTube. I very much appreciate the good vibes and interactions that are found here. And we love you guys too. Okay. What I'm doing here, I feel, I have felt, is very important. Not only to keep you updated, but to keep you, using the term inspired, to keep you courageously, okay, focused inwardly on your own relationship with your guidance and your higher self, because that's going to become the most valuable and important thing here on out in your future, regardless of what else happens. Okay, it is the strength, all right, of that inner relationship that will allow you to face anything. Okay, I've mentioned this many times before. I like to go back every once in a while because, you know, most of you know that I was a Pentecostal minister when I was in my 20s. a Bible thumper. All right. But I like to go back and look at the Bible every once in a while because I see it differently. All right. And when I think about what early Christians went through in regards to the Roman Empire and them being literally murdered, you think about the situation, of Christ being able to forgive on the cross, which most of us could say, yeah, that's right. That could happen, but the reality of it is, if you were put in a situation where you had to die for people who hated you and didn't understand you, okay, where would you find the strength? Where would you find the certainty to be able to face something like that? There's really only one way, and that is that you'd have to be consciously aware that you exist. You would have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you exist beyond your body, your mind, and your emotions. And that's what those early disciples knew. That's what they were taught. Okay. The people who translated the Bible, hundreds of years later, they did not have the understanding, the expertise, the wording to accurately explain what was being presented. Okay. And it's really kind of interesting in a way. I was thinking here too that 12 people, 12 disciples, he didn't have a stadium full of people when he did what he did. He may have had large gatherings of people, okay, that came to listen to him. But essentially, he worked with 12 people, okay, and that became Christianity in various forms over time as we see it now, and even the spiritual awakening, okay. But the translators, I guess the best way I can say it is they didn't use the right words, but maybe they didn't understand them, okay. Okay, let's see. I think your work is very important. We take our new knowledge, calm and positive message to those around us and help them. Thank you. Well, what I hope, Beck, okay, that what I am doing here is that some of what I am saying resonates with a part of you inside that knows what I'm telling you. Okay. There's always a danger in any situation of anybody that has any influence of becoming hung up on them. There's many people that have fallen into religious cults and things like that. That's always a problem when you have any kind of influence, because in most cases, the influencer is just trying to point out to you what you already know. If what I say to you resonates with you, it's because you already know this. But you may not have developed a deep enough relationship with your higher self to totally embrace and understand it. Okay. And what we're seeing now, or what I'm seeing now in different ways, shapes, and forms, is that there are very advanced teachers that are coming on to the internet and that are sharing knowledge. Okay. Advanced knowledge in some cases, because there are others that have along the way begun to make a commitment to themselves for their own higher evolution. They understand what commitment means. Okay. As long back as you don't become absorbed in somebody else's interpretation of the Bible, your higher self can show you what was actually meant. And that is good. Okay. It's just unfortunate that there's a certain view out there because of the translations that are distorting exactly what was going on at the time. But, secondhand knowledge, that's the way it is. Okay. And the Bible is a history of religion. That's one way to put it too, But what we hope to do, what we need to do, is to rediscover the next chapter, the next conscious chapter, because it is a fantastic, incredible journey that we're on and that we're headed into. And we are fortunate to be in a particular period of time where we're going to be given the opportunity to discover things that have been hidden for generations about ourselves, about life. All right. But it does come at a price. It does come at a price, and like yourself, as I mentioned many, many years ago, my biggest anxiety about the future, as I looked at horoscopes and as I watched the news, watched people and stuff like that, is how far is the universe going to have to go to nail home the point that it's time to change? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bill. All right. All right. We are down to 1 hour, and I'm going to be going off here. So those of you that are new and have been watching the broadcast, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sharing with you insight, conscious understanding, astrological verification, all right, to prepare you the best way we can, okay, the best way we can for how to deal with your emotions, your thinking, okay? And I'm not familiar with any right off the top of my head, I'll say this much, Anne, okay? There are several free versions of the Bible that you can download, software on the internet, that I often look at because of the fact some of them actually have translations of the original Greek. And I like to see what it is, okay? Exactly what it is that they meant, okay? All right. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. I trust this has been a benefit to you, and I hope that it puts a smile on your face and it warms your heart up, and that you'll have a great weekend. Okay. So again, I will be signing off, and I will see you next week, next Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning.